morning, everybody, and welcome to the Aquatic Morning Show, where the Aquarius go to be in the know right here at the Aquatic Morning Show. So, good morning, Miss Dee Dee, and good morning, Mr. Bill.
Hello.
Morning.
Get to a big introduction with you in just a moment. We're going to say good morning to some people in chat. Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics. I meant to send you a link, Brennan. If you want it, I will send it to you. Eduardo, good morning. Levi's Aquatics. Bigfoot Fish Tanks 2. Danny Washi, good morning. Working and lurking.
Wait a minute. You didn't say anything about socks.
Nope.
Are you underdressed, Mr. Bill?
Apparently, I'll be right back.
Right. Who was it yesterday that did that? The other night, Blake's Aquatics, the Australian. He said, now I got to get up and go shut the door because it was raining really bad. And he had on like swimming trunks. He was like, excuse me, I was not planning on getting up. It's funny. Mike's Aquatics and Things, good morning. Scrolling. Brooklyn Val, good morning. Dennis Christensen, Chevy Fish, good morning to you too. Dragon Layer. And Miss Susan with SLC Aquatics. I'm just scrolling real fast, you guys, so we can get to Mr. Bill here. Crown Tail Half Moon. I believe I hit the bottom. And usually by about the midpoint, we get like triple the people in here. So,
All right.
It wakes up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and it's links still going out and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, you guys. So we have got Mr. Bill Strand here, and Mr. Bill is with the Reptile Entrepreneur and the Chameleon Academy. He started out with the Chameleon Academy and recently started podcasting the Reptile Entrepreneur. He provides entrepreneurs in the reptile community the tools and information with which to build responsible and successful businesses. You can also find tutorials and the nuts and bolts of setting up presence and marketing in the digital world, from websites and social media to patents and business structure. He brings you the information you need so you can spend your time working on your specialized projects. Mr. Bill.
Yes.
That's a mouthful. That's a lot.
It is. And shall I just start at the beginning?
It's your floor.
All right. Well, I am very much a chameleon guy. And for about 40 years now, over 40 years now. And and it's interesting that around 2007, I was at an inflection point to where I was, I had to reset life, went through and I was in a house, a new house, empty house, and I had a decision to make. Either I was going to get back into chameleons or I was going to do seahorses. And I was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And both of them are incredibly unique animals and exciting animals. And each one has exacting care. And so I was going to dedicate myself to one or the other. And I remember, I think I finally went with chameleons because the seahorses, I was having troubles finding captive bred seahorses at the time. There was some farms that I would be able to, but it was a little bit more difficult.
Right.
And both of them, I knew that eventually I'd want to be raising my own food for them. And just thinking about setting up all the aquariums for the raising the food for the seahorses, I knew I was really in for it. But I was crazy enough that I would have done it.
Right.
And I would have had a great time doing it.
Eventually, now, have you done that before? Had you raised seahorses before?
I had not.
Okay.
So it would have been a totally new adventure for me. And I'm one of those that would go all in and take it slow. So I would have built it up. And I don't know what was the tipping point that ended up with me with chameleons, because I know I was at the fish store. I was looking at all the equipment, but it was kept going back and forth and back and forth. But eventually I did go back into chameleons. And it's interesting how in our life we have these decision points, and it's just amazing the paths we could have taken, because I mean, I still have all my seahorse books. Who knows? I may still get into seahorses.
Right.
You haven't given up yet.
Oh, no, I still, every time a new seahorse book comes in, it's on my shelf. And so I'm a secret seahorse fan here.
Heck yeah. I will have one. I will have a nano salt tank with seahorses in it. I struggled with that same thing of putting in my 40 breeder saltwater tank. Am I going to do the seahorse? Because you got to do one or the other with seahorses. Mm-hmm. You got to do the seahorses, or you do other.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about seahorses, but there's so much for me to do in the chameleon community. I'm in the education phase of helping people with their chameleons and to take care of them right. They're not hard to take care of if you do it right, and that's the problem, is finding out how to do it right.
Seem like a lot to where so many different. I didn't know there were that many different chameleons.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I just thought there were the really two types, like the big one and then the one they sell at Petco.
Yeah, over 200 species. And the thing is, it's not just a chameleon. They inhabit so many different ecological niches, from sand dunes to, the mountains and the jungles and the savannas. And it's amazing all the different places that chameleons live. And so you really could spend your entire life learning about chameleons, which I have, and some scientists do. They're just such a diverse family of lizards. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. Now, Bill, what did you do prior to that mid-change in life there?
I was involved in chameleons before that.
Oh, okay.
So I got my first chameleon when I was it was 7th grade. I keep forgetting what age that is, but that's in like late 70s.
Another year.
Yeah, it keeps changing. Late 70s, and so I've been into chameleons for a long time, and very experienced with chameleons. So that was definitely the easier way to go. But the thing with chameleons is they're so attractive, and people love them. And they walk into Petco, and they're looking for dog food, and they see this very cute chameleon. And if you go by the advice in the pet store, sometimes it's not the greatest advice, and the chameleons will suffer because of it. So there's a lot of work to be done in helping those people, because they love their chameleon. I'm actually encouraged to see these big box pet stores actually bringing in some higher level equipment like UVB lights, whereas before they've been obsessed with the cheapest thing possible, and the chameleon suffers because of that. But now we're starting to bring in some more substantial equipment, and so I'm encouraged by that.
Sweet. Awesome. Mr. Bill, this is Brennan with Misfit Reptiles and Aquariums. He's going to help us with some reptile questions.
Okay.
Part of our
just so you guys know, I am home on break with my daughters here, so excuse me interrupting. All right, you need to go. Go on. Go play with mom.
Well, yes, Misfit Reptiles and Fish. That sounds like a place I would like to go to.
Yeah,
right.
I have a lot of fun. I own an aquarium maintenance, setup, and acquisitions business, but I also do the same thing with reptiles. Actually, I got into the reptiles through chameleons. Back when I originally opened up my business, I rescued a very frail, very poorly taken care of Jacksons.
Mhm.
And you, sir, are the first videos that I came across. And
Oh, really?
honestly, frankly, some of the only videos that I needed.
Wonderful.
So thank you for that. My biggest question for you is, what inspires you to work with chameleons specifically?
When I was first getting interested in reptiles, and this was grade school, I tried a lot of different reptiles, and it was just about the chameleon. When I first, when,
Evelyn, get out here now!
I'm muted.
you muted your camera.
Wrong one.
Uh,
It's okay. Good laugh.
That was at my house too. They see me like, get back.
Geez.
Right. You got kids, you understand.
Yeah. So it was there was just something about a chameleon that grabbed me, and as a child, it was like the closest thing to a dinosaur, and I was more interested in less the size and more the unique structures, the horns, the casques, the prehensile tail. It was just an incredible animal that just grabbed me, and I don't know what it is that grabs us and creates the passion inside of us, but something triggers and you say, that's it. And that's my passion. And that's what happened with chameleons. And I've been in love with them ever since.
It's really
Wow.
awesome.
I think most little boys get them a frog out of the creek or something.
No.
And that's where it all begins for a lot of people is catching a frog. And of course, back in my day, you were considered a tomboy if you like critters like that. You know?
Oh yeah, and dinosaurs. Oh my goodness, I love dinosaurs. Knew all the names. So you know,
catch a turtle or a frog and take it home, and I don't know.
You
what
need to
happens
go
over
and watch.
3 days. You never know.
Or
yeah.
the lizards, like the ones that you grab and it accidentally pinches their tails off.
Yes.
Yeah, you know,
That was so traumatic the first time that happened.
Like,
yeah, it's interesting that the standard lizard shape wasn't. They were very cool. I really loved them, but it just didn't grab me like chameleons did. They were just so unique.
I love the ones like that you walk into Petco and you see they're little, but and I'm sure they don't stay little, but they're little, and I love them so much. I love their hands. I love the way that they grip like that. Oh my God, they're so cute.
Let me tell you, when you see baby chameleons hatch out of the egg, it's like your heart just melts.
Oh,
They are the cutest thing in the world.
Then you get them all on a nice little like fake tree, taking pictures and stuff.
Oh my gosh, I want to see that. We do have a member of the fish family that does raise chameleons. He's not here today because he's at work, but Furlough, his name is Furlough, and he has chameleons. And I was supposed to get one or two from him out of the last batch, but I changed my mind.
Okay, well, thing about chameleons is they are easy if you get them set up correctly.
Yeah.
Getting them set up correctly is a bit of an investment.
Yeah, I was not ready to, after I said I wanted them, and then I started researching, and then I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm ready for this. I think I'm going to start with a frog.
It's actually amazing how much we wrap our lives around our pets. And I always have to step back when I start talking to people about how to take care of chameleons and realize it's easy and second nature for me because I've wrapped my life around my chameleons, and I love it. But it's a different perspective when somebody's coming new to the hobby, whether it's chameleons, reptiles, or whatever it is. When you're totally new, your lifestyle isn't set up for thinking about, okay, now I got to take care of the cockroaches that I am breeding.
Right. Like I do baby brine shrimp every day to feed most of my breeding fish. And it's a daily thing. I mean, you got to clean that. But with the chameleons, you know, the part that I freaked out over was when you said that they do, but they shouldn't have to drink water, and that the misting systems should be set up, come on at this time and this. And I was like, okay, that's getting a little past where I'm ready to be right now. So we'll just hold off.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricacies. We're learning so much about their natural behaviors, and the husbandry is getting so much better. Our lifespan, we're working on pushing that lifespan out. And so it's an exciting time to be part of the chameleon world. But by the same token, there's still a lot to just get into the world if you want to do it right.
Right.
And it's not like you have to be anything special. It's not like there's this hierarchy and you've got to know the secret password. All you got to do is be willing to do the research and get everything together. So anybody can do it. You just have to, number one, choose to do it. And number two, you have to know you have to do it.
Right. And know there's help out there that won't bite your head off.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That is so wonderful. That's been a change, is that we have established breeders of chameleons. Panther Chameleons, one of the nicest chameleons. And those breeders regularly produce these gorgeous animals and are there to help you. So if you're interested in a chameleon, don't get the wild caught. Go with somebody who is there to help you. If you've got someone like Misfit who actually knows what they're talking about and can handhold you when you buy the chameleon, then it's really not a problem, and you can have a great time with your chameleon. It's when you buy one from the show and you're never going to talk to that person again, and you're saying, okay, what do I do? That's when it becomes heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But the same thing has happened to everybody in the fish fan world. We've gone to a store, we bought a fish, and it's this little, and now it's going to be this big, and we got a bowl, don't have aeration, and everybody makes mistakes in the beginning if they don't do that research first. Now in the world of YouTube, you get that if you look for it.
And the problem is, you talk to the person who's selling the fish or the reptile, they say, oh, you just need a bowl, you just need this small cage, don't worry, it's fine, it'll be easy. You can get a pair and keep them together, and then you can have two, and you can breed them. You can make money. It's like, my goodness, these are the worst pieces of advice possible to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
$30 a baby or whatever. Yeah.
Reptiles, just like fish, are super easy when you really love them and set their enclosure up correctly.
Yep.
Do you have a specific species that are your personal favorite, or?
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, well, go ahead, get comfortable. That I struggle with. I think if I was to pick one species that was my absolute favorite, it would be the yellow crested Jackson's chameleon, which is the one I started with over 40 years ago. This thing, it's got those 3 triceratops horns. They give live birth, so it's like it has it all.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Jess, let me tell you, that look that you have on your face is exactly the look that so many chameleon keepers have when they find out that Jackson's chameleons give live birth.
Yeah, that is very, I did not know that. I just assumed reptile eggs.
Oh, but there's more. Because they can mate once and they can store sperm.
They're guppies.
You can buy a female Jackson's chameleon from a show or somewhere and have no intention of breeding. You don't want to breed. And 2 years later, you walk downstairs and your cage is filled with 30 chameleons. You're going,
oh my goodness.
Just happened?
Yeah.
If you look at my podcast, I used to be called the Chameleon Breeder Podcast. Episode number 2 is all about surprise babies because it's so common.
I will definitely have to go back.
I remember that.
Yeah, you would be looking all over for that lizard that got out in your house and crawled in your cage somehow. Like, where's that lizard at?
Kidding.
It is surprising. I mean, it is common. I have a Facebook group that's specifically about Jackson's chameleons, and every week someone's on saying, "I've got babies. What do I do?" So
Yeah.
it will
That's
continue.
right.
Oh, and then there's subspecies of Jackson's chameleons, and everybody is used to, well, Jackson's chameleon, the males have horns. Well, that's true in the yellow-crested Jackson's chameleon,
Oh.
but if you go to other subspecies, the females have horns as well. So if you are going to a show and you're picking out a Jackson's chameleon and you don't want babies, you want a male, so you pick the one that's got 3 horns. Well, if you've got a Machacos Hills Jackson's chameleon, that beautiful 3-horned chameleon maybe a male. I'm sorry, maybe a female. And so you've got a double surprise.
Yeah.
So they can hold sperm for 2 years, or it takes them. How long does it take gestation?
Gestation is about okay, a little bit difficult for a Jackson's chameleon, probably about a month. But since it's happening all inside, it's kind of hard to tell when gestation ends and incubation starts because the eggs never come out.
Right.
So in standard chameleons, it's 1 month to sometimes it's been 4 months, depending upon the species. And actually, there's some variation within species. So it's about say a month for gestation, and then we're talking about 6-7 months for incubation, if you call it incubation pregnancy.
Well, is there another way to tell the sex of one of them?
Well, it's once you know what you're looking for, it's very easy to tell. Now with the Machacos Hills Jackson's chameleons, where both the males and the females have 3 horns, when they're young, it's not so easy. But when they're adults, it's very easy once you know what to look for. The problem comes.
Fish, they vent them so that it's like we
don't
them upside down, look at a vent.
we can look for hemipenal bulges on there, but really the external characteristics are very obvious once you know what to look for. If all you have to go with is it's got 3 horns, then you're not looking for the subtle body shapes and such.
Okay.
Oh, I know what he means by photos. He wants me to pull up the Jackson's chameleon and show it.
You want me? Let me see if I can. It looks like I can screen share here. Let's see if I can bring something.
You sure
You want to see? Oh, hey, you know what? I could probably bring up. Let's see. Yeah, we can go ahead and talk while I'm looking for this. But let's see. Let's see where I
There
can
goes
find
Dee
that.
Dee's talk about the sex of creatures. Bardo.
I can't see chat. I'm watching the big screen here.
Okay.
I'll catch up with chat later.
DeFreeze Aquariums, aka Rob. Good morning. Good to see you. Carrie, what's up, Carrie? Good morning, lady. And Jenny Lynn and Melvin Reeve. And Timbo tanking it easy. He says, "Dang, I'm late. Good morning, y'all."
Now, there aren't any of those chameleons or whatever that do like the male seahorses where they carry the babies or whatever. There's not any of that.
Nope. The females got it all for.
They are seriously sound like the guppy of the aquatic world. the chameleons do. Guppies can hold sperm. Well, they don't even know anymore how long they can hold their sperm.
Okay.
But they can at least 3 months, if not up to a year, can hold sperm and collect it. And then, you buy a guppy and a month down the road or 3 months down the road, you have babies and there ain't no male around. And you're like, somebody explain this.
Well, it's probably more like 5 years, Jess. If your highly prized special guppy got in with a mutt guppy, she can probably hold that for 5 years.
Probably. Yes, probably. Yeah. And by that time, she wouldn't be able to have babies no more.
Now, a lot of us here keep like pufferfish and stuff. We get really attached to those animals. And I know from keeping chameleons, I do the same with chameleons. For the time that you've been working with chameleons, has that gotten any easier dealing with those animals leaving your life at all? Or 'cause I haven't found it gotten any easier at all.
I'm sorry. Your question was when they die, when they pass away?
Yeah.
No, it's not. By the way, everybody, while we're talking, these are the subspecies of Jackson's chameleons that you can run into. And it all depends on whether you're treating them like a breeding project and they all have a number. And yeah, well, 24601 over there is doing okay. But then there's some that like I've had for 10 years. And when that one, I just actually recently had two of them leave me. And
Aw.
after 10 years, it's like it's horrible. I mean, you're the thing is, chameleons, reptiles, fish, anything. It doesn't matter what they are. It's what they mean to us.
Right.
And
I threw this up here real quick. While you're
yeah,
looking
there we go.
at that, we can look at this. So, let's see. Is this
That
Jackson?
is a male yellow-crested Jackson's chameleon.
Ooh. Now he doesn't have like all the colors. Like,
No, they all chameleons, they have their own palette of colors.
okay.
And so the yellow crested Jacksons is this very nice yellow lime green with the some blue highlights in places like during the mating season. His tail will get a nice powdery blue with those yellow accents by the horns. Now, if you go over, you see all those other pictures that are available to you. You've got one that has a yellow swash across the.
Let me do this. Okay.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So in the second row, the second photo over.
Yep.
Now that is a Machaco's Hills Jackson's chameleon, and that's the male. And so they have a very bright blue cheeks and the yellow across their flank. And so this is
Are
this,
them
this
horns
is
hard, or are they kind of like
those are hard.
they're
Yes.
hard?
Yeah, and they are used to joust on the branches. So and they'll knock each other off the branches. Generally, it isn't meant to like stab. It's more like grappling
Right.
and knocking other males off the branches.
Yeah, I guess you have to hang on to the branch and try to not be able to.
Yeah,
bump
well,
it.
that's how they decide who's in charge of the bush and who has to go find another bush.
Right.
Okay.
So, I'm seeing Master Aquatics is asking what are the costs of these gorgeous creatures.
Yeah.
The good news and the bad news. The good news is some of them you can get for $75, and the bad news is you can get them for $75. And so we hear a lot, I don't want to spend more for the cage and the setup than I did the animal.
That's
Like,
not
oh,
true.
dude, wrong. Come on. Yeah, just put the chameleon back, okay? And
Yeah.
get a stuffed
That
animal.
means you don't care enough.
But then they go up to thousands of dollars depending on the species.
Wow.
So what's the most expensive species?
Oh, that's a little Miramontanus that we got there that you're showing up
That
there.
little one with the blue.
Yeah, that's actually from Tanzania. It's the only of the Jackson's chameleons from Tanzania, way up high on Mount Meru. And the thing is, this is why it's important to know the species or the subspecies, because the elevations that they come from, they're going to be getting much higher levels of UVB, and we'll be expecting much lower drops in nighttime temperature than the yellow crested Jackson's chameleon, which is from a much lower elevation. It's still at a high elevation, so they still want the nighttime drops. So you want to give them more of a nighttime drop than you'd give a panther chameleon. And so you can see how it's just, there's just so much to know when you're giving advice about chameleons.
So Eduardo says, Mr. Bill, we spend money on the setup for a guppy tank.
Excellent. Perfect. Yeah, and I think in the aquarium world, you guys know all about the setup. It doesn't matter what the fish costs. And once you get past the fishbowl stage and get serious about it, you know what it costs to set thing up correctly.
That's a pretty picture.
See this one. Nope, that's the same thing.
Yeah, that's a younger male yellow crested
Right
Jackson's chameleon. And we see a lot of the yellow crested Jackson's chameleons because they were introduced accidentally to Hawaii. And so even after their home Kenya stopped the exports of them because there were just too many going out, we in the United States at least just got this flooded with all of these chameleons from Hawaii because some pet store owner imported about 3 dozen Jackson's chameleons, and they didn't look so good, so he put them in his backyard to rehabilitate in the natural sun, and they weren't there when he went back. Now there's a female.
This is a female.
That's a female. That's a younger female. The mature females will have the nice greens.
Oh.
That's a younger female, and her eyes are kind of sunken in, so better eyes there.
Yeah, much better.
And she,
now,
you can see the greens coming in.
Did that mean she wasn't healthy, or?
It can mean a number of things. They get the sunken eyes when they're feeling sick, when they're dehydrated. Sometimes they will pull their eyes in when they're stressed or they're feeling threatened, more as a protection thing. So it just means that there's something not
going
right.
on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the community, when people see that, they say, oh, hey, that's for minor. Very nice chameleon, very rare.
Got one horn on his nose.
It's actually you're seeing it in a profile. It's actually 2. It's like 2 blades coming off of his nose. So when you see it from the front, it'll be like 2 vertical blades.
Now is that used for the same purposes a Jackson chameleon's horns are?
No, I haven't ever seen them fight like that. I think it's just ornamentation. And what's really interesting about this particular species is the female looks completely different. And she has nothing on her nose. The scientists thought they were 2 separate species for the longest time until wait a minute, they're mating. Okay, now we know what a female looks like. And she is if you want to look up Furcifer minor, you're going to see one of the most colorful chameleons in the chameleon world.
Well, I don't know how to spell that one.
Yeah, I'll help you spell that one.
All right.
It's FURCIFER.
Minor.
And then minor. Yeah. And this one, like a lot of chameleons, they just don't have a common name that's worth it.
No. I know there's a species that is one of my favorites, the Pygmy Chameleons.
Oh, yeah.
What can you tell me about those little guys?
Okay, well, so see, these are.
Oh, wow.
That's the female when she's gravid and saying,
very gravid.
stay away. That's a veiled chameleon, one of the most popular chameleons because they just reproduce ad nauseum.
We go back.
Ornery little things.
Try that one.
Well, it is very colorful, though.
Yeah, and that's her telling the male she is not interested. But when she's not gravid and not telling the male to go away, she's just a plain green.
Now,
this
one.
That is a male Panther Chameleon.
Okay.
And they come in so many different color locales. The locales, it's like a complete rainbow. It starts off, that's the Mbanja locale. And we named the locales after the towns in Madagascar where they're found near. But if you start on the east coast, the mid-east coast, they're very red. And you go up and around the coast of Madagascar, it's like you go through the complete rainbow from the reds and the oranges. There's the yellows and the greens and the blues and the purples, and nobody knows. They're saying nobody knows why, and they don't know why they are different colors. They don't know why they don't intermingle. They're the same species; they can easily cross, but
they don't. At one point or another, they had to have.
Yeah, and there's no real reason. It's not like there's a bunch of chasms that keep them from finding each other. So, but the talked about the pygmy chameleons.
That's cute.
There's some that there's like Crocessia, some genus of chameleons that look like leaves, and they're found in Africa and Madagascar, and they live closer down to the ground,
Huh.
and they're brown, but they still have that changing of their the patterns and the different browns, their colors, their different browns go in and out. So they're just fascinating.
Eduardo is asking, what about recreating their environment as like in the enclosure that you're setting up?
Yes, that is the biggest challenge here, is because we're taking a snapshot of a piece of tree 6 feet off the ground and trying to put that into our living room. So really what we're looking for, the chameleon wants, is what we call the forest edge. So they want to be able to be inside we'll call it the bush or the tree, where they feel protected, and they want to be able to go out to the edge of the tree where they can get their sun and such. And so what we do in our cage is we have a lot of horizontal branches, thin horizontal branches for them to perch on, and then a lot of living plants. And you can see my big cage up there at the top on the right corner. No.
Up here at the right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, there's a lot of my cages here, but yeah, that one. That's one I did for somebody's wedding.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what you see here,
all live plants?
all live plants.
Sweet.
Yeah, I like to do live plants for all my cages. And what you see there is a lot of branches where that panther chameleon can decide whether he wants to be in the open, where he's going to be getting the UVB, the heat, or if he wants to hide in the plants. And so giving the chameleon that security is the way to keep them happy. And if you make a chameleon happy, they don't need to move. They don't need to exercise. They don't need to do laps around the cage or anything. They're happy to stay in a secure place, and then a place where they can warm up and then go back to their secure place. And so a happy chameleon doesn't move a whole lot.
Wow. That's interesting.
I wasn't expecting
I
that.
really love some of your outdoor enclosures as well.
Oh, the outdoor enclosure. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're all overgrown and stuff, it just looks so pretty.
Yeah. The wonderful thing about chameleons is there are some times of the year where, depending on where you live, you can keep chameleons outdoors. And so you just get a huge cage. Like I've done walk-in enclosures. I just build them, and the chameleons essentially take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm in Southern California, and so Jackson's chameleons, I can keep them outdoors year round.
Oh, wow.
And there's a misconception. We look at chameleons and we think, oh, hey, that's one of my first cages back there.
This one is?
Oh, to the one before that.
That one?
Go back.
Yeah. One more. Yeah, that where it says Dragon Strand down there. See this?
We're going the wrong way.
Going the wrong way. It's the one that had the red flower to the left. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was one of my early cages. See, what that cage is showing is the dragon ledges. It's a product that I designed and patented, and they're brackets that allow us to attach plants and branches to the side of a screen cage. Because before we would just put this big tree in the middle of the cage, but by using these brackets, we can create this floating garden style, which more replicates what a chameleon wants. And that just allows us to use the pothos plants to give the chameleon that thick foliage in the area that it wants to.
And then the bromeliads are pretty.
Yeah, those are for us. I've always been a big proponent of making the cage attractive to us.
Yes.
Because once they're functional to the chameleon, the more attractive they are to us, the more we will enjoy it. And the more attractive they are to human beings, the more that the people who come to visit your home will see that and they will say, wow, what's that?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And
I'm flabbergasted.
one of the most powerful things we can do to those of us who enjoy reptiles or any animal is to be ambassadors for that animal. Because like chameleons, how many people can point to Madagascar on a map? And not many,
Right.
until you get your first chameleon and you fall in love with Panther chameleons. And once that happens, you say, where is this chameleon from? And then you learn where Madagascar is. You learn about the ecological disaster going on to where you can literally see it bleeding into the ocean from space because of all the deforestation. And then you start caring about something, a country on the other side of the earth. You start caring about the people, and you start doing things where supporting like Eden Reforestation is uh, a an organization that replants forests. And so you start getting involved with that. And this all comes from being fascinated by that first chameleon. So it's very important how we in the pet keeping community present ourselves and our animals, because it really has a difference, a ripple effect to the community around us.
There's a picture of it. Now, what is that made of?
Uh, that is made of great stuff, pond and foam, pond
That's
and
what it
stone.
looks like. That's what it looked
Yes.
like. Okay. Hey, that
So-
stuff comes in handy for so much things.
yes,
so
it
many
does.
things. Like, especially with the aquarius and outdoor ponds, and oh my god, you could make anything and then carve it.
Yeah. Oh, Master Aquatics is saying Madagascar. It's off the coast of South Africa or Chile or Ecuador somewhere. Well, we're at the I don't know, somewhere around the right latitude at least.
Miss Sherry is
So,
asking if you travel the world trying to protect the chameleon habitats.
do you travel? I do not travel the world trying to protect chameleon habitats. My place here is educating people in how to take care of their chameleons. I would love to travel the world and help protect the chameleon habitats because that is the most important thing when it comes to conservation. We talk about, hey, we shouldn't be importing chameleons, and well, it doesn't matter if their environment is destroyed and there's no place for the chameleons to live. So protecting their natural habitat is the number one priority. And honestly, I mean, really, that's the biggest problem we're facing. I had a scientist on my podcast, and he told me about this incredibly rare chameleon that was only found at the top of these mountains in Madagascar. And because of the global warming, the temperatures were rising, and the cool temperatures that this chameleon needed to survive were slowly disappearing to the point where it was literally going to be pushed off the mountain and go extinct because of the rising temperatures. And so, our ecological situation is the biggest problem with chameleons in the wild and everything in the wild.
It really is.
I did not know Bert personally. I knew of him. We were in the same community. We know the same people, but I did not know Bert.
We have got a bunch of people that have come in here. Let's see. Bunny
All right.
Viper, Fish Ranch Home, Miss Sherry, Jack and Dan.
And Eduardo, I knew you were joking.
Eduardo's a drama teacher.
Yeah.
Ricky DeHoyas. Dave, good to see you, Dave. I was saying yesterday I hadn't seen the Farrells around much, and he popped in to make sure I seen them. Jenny Lynn. Let's see. And yes, I am sure I have missed a bunch of questions, you guys. Just do me a favor. Don't do it all in caps, Eduardo. It can get me in trouble. So try not to do everything in all caps.
Is Eduardo the
Patrick,
guy without socks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
But, Dragon Lair, the guy that just asked about Bert, he keeps all kinds of animals, fish, and all that. So he's been doing this a long time. And if anybody ever has a question, like I just got a such as, he can usually give you an answer.
Yeah, I've heard Bert was an
Melvin.
incredible person. I would have loved to have met him.
How much
Oh.
can you expect to pay for a chameleon, and can you keep one not in an enclosure? I have a giant palm plant in my living room, so maybe I can adapt some of the things he needs in that plant.
That is what we call a free range. And free range habitats are great in theory, and they sound wonderful. And when I got my first apartment, I actually turned my dining room into a free range. I lined it with plastic. I mean, who really needs a dining table when I can put a little forest in there? So I built a little wall, 2-foot tall wall, and I lined the entire dining room with plastic. And I put my trees in there and my misting system and all that, and it was great. And I don't know how I got away with it. The manager never came and inspected. And strange enough, when I left the apartment, the dining room looked pristine. When I took all that plastic off,
Nice.
it was completely like new.
That's awesome.
Wow.
But the problem with free range is that chameleons will wander, and they end up under doors. They get hit. They end up in places they shouldn't be. And there's a big problem when it comes to getting the proper UVB. They will search out heat, and but it's just so hard getting the right UVB to them. Different pets, animals. So there's so many considerations that go into making a safe place for a chameleon that conceptually a free range is fine if you provide all of the water, the UVB, everything they need. They'll live just fine. But practically speaking, it's very hard to make that work. So for the safety of the chameleon, but
Now, will they not search out the UVB that they're looking for, or is that why they're roaming so much to find something better? Or
they're roaming because they're
Just
looking for something better.
They-
The thing is, they need to feel safe,
uh-huh.
and they feel safe when you can't see them, and that's generally the
Not what we
opposite
want. We want to
of
see
what
them.
we're looking for. So
Yep.
if you have a cage where you can't see your chameleon, well, then you've done it right. So you need to be in a special mindset to really be a chameleon keeper. I'm happy when I see my chameleon once every 3 days,
Right.
and that you just got to have the right personality. I don't handle my chameleons. I'm okay not handling them, and I'm okay keeping a cage full of plants that I know there's a chameleon in there somewhere, because the food disappears and there's poop I got to clean up.
Right.
That's my relationship.
Like my Jacksons, I've formed one hell of a connection with mine where I just open a cage and they walk right out on my hand without me coercing him or anything like that.
Yeah.
Some cases you can get that. Not very.
Yeah,
Not
there
very
are
common.
chameleons. Yeah, those are the biggest problem chameleons, because people love to put those on the internet, and so that's the expectation.
Yep.
But yes, there are some. Every chameleon is an individual, and so there are some very shy ones, and then there are some that you're just a walking tree, and well, let's see what's going on today, and you bring me food, so they have no fear of you, and it's just you can't control that. You can't force a chameleon to be that,
Yep.
and so it's very hard. I have to generally say, no, don't touch your chameleons, don't interact with your chameleons,
Mhm.
just because so many people misinterpret the signs that the chameleons are giving.
Yeah.
And it makes it very stressful for the chameleon. But I was literally standing in front of a chameleon cage, videotaping. You can tell how old I am. Videoing don't tape anymore, videoing me talking about how you've got to leave your chameleons alone because they don't want to be with you. And the chameleon literally climbed up on my shoulder while I was like, all right, enough of you, Cyrano.
That point was well made.
Right.
But yes, there are some chameleons that are, I mean, dare I say, personable.
Yeah.
And they're just so rare that I don't want anybody to expect it because it's not fair for the chameleon. When we take an animal into our home, we are accepting the animal as they are.
Yep.
And I don't like anybody to have the expectation that I'm going to change that animal until it sits on my shoulder and whispers in my ear like Tangled Chameleon.
Right.
Now, can they
Chameleons
not
are not one of those
get used to it?
What was that?
Can they not get used to it or be trained to do it?
They can to some extent.
Okay.
The problem,
one or the other.
The problem is that you need to be deeply in tuned to the subtle language of the chameleon for when it's stressed, because especially Jackson's chameleons, when they're stressed, they'll shut down.
Yeah.
And they'll just, and when a chameleon shuts down, when a chameleon quotes, trust you so much that it will fall asleep on your hand, that's not trust. That is the chameleon giving up on life and waiting to die.
What?
Yeah. So the chameleons, they know they're not fast. They can't get away from you. They rely on not being seen. That's their security. That's why if you walk by a chameleon's cage and you pretend you don't see it, they're happy because, oh, okay, I'm safe. But when people take a chameleon out and they start playing with it, the chameleon knows he can't get away. There's no way he can like scurry off. And so the chameleons, they'll freeze. They'll stop. And of course, we humans go, oh, okay, so he wants to play with me because he isn't running away.
Right.
Well, no, it's the chameleon is scared and saying, I'm really hoping that this thing thinks that I am not a chameleon, that I'm a leaf. And then we play with it. Oh, yeah. And then we can make it do the crawling over our hand. And it's getting tired. How am I going to get away from this thing that is about to eat me? Because deep inside of them, they know anything bigger than them is going to eat them. They don't have this concept of being a pet. They don't have this concept of this benevolent, godlike figure that is going to take care of them. They've just never had that before. Okay. It's not like gorillas keep them as pets.
Is there one species more than another species that does better with it?
There are species that communicate it better. Like a veiled chameleon will let you know very quickly that it's not happy with being held, and it will communicate in ways that we can understand. It will bite you. Oh, okay. It doesn't want to be held. A Jackson's chameleon won't bite you. It will just be calm, and then it will just stress out to the point where when they start to close their eyes, that is them giving up on life. And so when you have somebody who shows you a chameleon saying, he trusts me so much that he fell asleep in my hand, anybody who knows anything about chameleons knows this is the worst part of chameleon keeping, when you have to let them know that this incredible trust that they think they developed with their animal. I am the chameleon whisperer. You're really killing your pet that you love.
Aww.
And it's very sad, but that is the problem with chameleons, that communicate in such a different way than us human beings. I mean, we're used to touch. With us, with pack animals, touch is comfort.
Yes.
When we love something, we put our head on this thing and we fall asleep. We take a nap. That is the sign of the highest level of trust. Our dogs will cuddle together. And that's why we do so great with dogs, is because we all know that touch means love.
Yeah.
We speak the same language. Chameleons, on the other hand, have never been touched. They never grew up with a family. They don't know what a social structure is. And they don't know what touch means. Touch means something is close enough to eat them. They live in a totally different culture. It's not that they're asocial. That's just what a chameleon is. They've never had a positive experience with touch. So it's a challenge, but if we love chameleons, we just got to learn their language.
Texas Snake is saying anything you see on the dodo is probably a really bad idea, but it looks so cool. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Yeah. And you see You can see on the internet how bad it is because all of the viral videos with chameleons are them trying to grab the faucet water and they're being stressed. They're trying to get away and they can't do it. Oh, we think that's so cute. No, the poor chameleon's
Aw.
stressed.
They do the same thing to the fish, where they'll put a fish on a slide and let it slide down into a pool, and it's just mean.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be my last question here before I got to get up and get back to work. But what's your biggest goal, and what are you looking for in the hobby in the future?
I am looking for reaching the people before the point of sale. My goal is really with the community. I love chameleons, and I have my goals within the chameleon world. But my biggest calling with my podcast and my videos is to get the information out there to people who want it. And the biggest challenge I have, which I don't have a solution right now, and I keep working on, is how do I get to the point of sale? How do I get to them before they make that purchase? And it's very difficult because if you didn't come in with the intention of buying a chameleon and you're making a purchase just because it's cute, how do I get that information to that person?
Right.
So I would fall in that trap if I was at the store and my kids said, "Oh, I would think I would just buy an extra large aquarium, bring it home, put a light on it, a stick or two, and I would have never have known. So I probably would have killed it in a very short time."
Yeah,
just like
that's a standard story. And the person who is helping you at the pet store, some reptile managers, they know what they're talking about. They know where to send you for information. Some don't. I mean, the reptile world is so big and diverse that you can be an expert in geckos and snakes and know nothing about chameleons. And it's like I would not be able to tell anybody how to keep a ball python. One of the most common snakes. I completely lost.
Yep. And from my business and stuff, and having to retain all this information for different species like chameleons and snakes, big and small, and everything in between, to retain all that information is a lot. And even I can't remember it all. You know what I mean? I'm constantly refreshing myself and looking up new stuff, and always be proactive in your research is one of the best things you can do in caring for these animals.
Never stop learning.
Yeah. And
some other people that have come in here real quick. We've got Ben Backstrom, Snoochie Booch, Eric Wyrock.
Yeah, and actually, we can actually get into this Reptile Entrepreneur. We
will in just a minute. We're going to take a small break and get some thanks to our sponsors real quick.
All right.
We've got Joe from Joe's Shrimp Shack. You guys, most of you know, is a really good sponsor and very big supporter of the Aquatic Morning Show. And if my computer will unfreeze, we will look at that.
Better. All right.
Dude, did you see the size of Joel's shrimp?
No, I didn't. Were they good size? Come on, tell me.
Dude, there's one out. Take a look, quick.
Whoa! Holy.
Now we're going to listen to Florida Man. We haven't heard that one in a little bit.
dog needs a loving home, take it to a shelter. But what do you do with a fish that's only into murder? Florida man will take the fish off your hands. Florida man, the one who understands. You gotta change your plans. Call Florida man, cigarette in hand. He's got a fishy wonderland. Drive 300 miles to rescue a catfish, but he would rather help you get your own tank established. Florida man, 3,000 gallons in. He doesn't have unlimited space for fish. Florida man got a net in his hand. Florida man and Father Fish is also there. Step up and help Florida man now. We need a rescue to rescue Florida fish. Rescue. Florida man needs a helping hand. There's a change in plans for his fishy wonderland. Florida man digging in the sand. Florida man is reaching out to the fishy fam. Florida man will take the fish off your hands. Florida man, the one who understands. Florida man needs a helping hand. There's a change in plans for his fishy wonderland. And he'll even take your goddamn feet as goldfish.
Well, hello there, Fish Tube. Steven here to unbox the next stage of restocking the 90-gallon. And again, if
All right. See, barely made it back to refill my cup. All right, you guys, and your morning coffee cup is brought to you by Miss Dee Dee, right here next to us. That way, backwards. Dee Dee's Finned In, where stuff happens.
Good and bad.
All right, you guys, if we have missed your questions up to this point, if you don't mind, put it back in chat and put at, Main Sales for Pins where it lights up and I can see it. So we talked about the chameleons.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the Reptile Entrepreneur podcast part of it.
All right. So one thing that's happening in the reptile world is we are having an explosion of interest. I don't, have you noticed, especially during COVID, that there was a huge interest in the aquarium world?
Okay, aquarium world and YouTube.
Yeah. Now, you had the advantage. We in the reptile world, we follow the aquarium world. It's like we're 2 steps behind you, but we are growing. Huge growth, especially during the lockdown time. And there was a concern because there's people willing to spend money for the right setup. It's a wonderful thing that's happened. It's no longer thinking about reptiles as throwaway pets, and so people are investing in their pets as they should. But with this new awareness and interest comes a huge opportunity,
right,
for people to develop businesses. And we got to be careful that if we don't do it within the community, then people outside the community are going to come in and make the money. And the problem is that if somebody outside the reptile community is making the money from the reptile community, that money is lost. If someone from the reptile community is starting a business catering to their specific niche, that money gets recycled within the reptile community. It goes to the legal defense. We have an organization called USARC that takes care of legislation that is meant to ban reptile ownership, and so they're fighting for us. And so we need to keep that money within the reptile community, strengthening the reptile community instead of being lost. And so what I wanted to do is create a resource to where people within the community are able to find what they need to actually start that business, because we have breeders who are very good at breeding things, but they don't know much about marketing. They don't know much about getting themselves out there. We have some people that are using 3D printers to make very niche specific items for green tree pythons, for blue tree monitors. And what I can do through my experience is give them the tools they need and the pieces that they need to make the full picture and be able to have a social media presence, have an e-commerce website. And that's something I can do. My background is in product marketing for the consumer electronics industry. That's what I did. And my job was to create a mini business around each and every product. And so I have that background. I have that background in social media. And so I am able to share this with the community, and I can give them the pieces and they can go off and make businesses. And the more businesses that we make from within the reptile community, the stronger we will be as a community. So that's the basis of what I'm doing.
My sister does kind of the same thing. She does the social presence for the Aquatic Morning Show for me. YouTube, Instagram, all of that. There's no way that I could keep up with all of that myself. Can't do it.
There is so much going on. There's so much changing. It's got to be a single mind, a focus of yours to keep up with it.
Now, I did hear, and this is totally off the beaten path, but did YouTube, is they changing their name? Did they get bought out? Are they? Oh. Is that a real
Not
thing?
YouTube. The only major thing that's happened like that is that the Facebook company has decided to call themselves Meta. So
Meta.
They are now Meta. And
sounds weird.
It's because Mark Zuckerberg wants to pioneer the metaverse, the virtual reality world. And so he believes, and actually I agree with him, that the metaverse, this virtual reality world, is the next big thing.
It is.
And imagine what kind of revenue you can bring in when you own all the billboards. Not only do you own the billboards, you own the entire world inside the metaverse.
Yeah. I wonder, though, I have thought, how is the metaverse, all of that stuff going to interact with the reptile and the aquatic world when people can just, put those things on and interact with what they want to, aside from looking and, breeding and having the animals, instead of looking through this thing and interacting with them and not having to take care of them, not having to feed them. That's my argument with it.
Well, I think what you're going to find is that the metaverse, at least within our lifetime, who knows what it's going to be 100 years from now, what it's going to turn into. But I think in our lifetime, it's going to be able to develop into a thing where it's like the internet. Imagine the internet, but you walking through it.
Yeah.
You are able to, be able to see your point of view. You can go into a store and you can buy something. Like I have a chameleon caging company. And so what I would be able to do is create a digital storefront that people could walk into, and they could see the cage from all the different angles. They could interact with the display. And so it's like a video game that you are
Yeah.
interacting with. And so that is, at the very least, that's the starting point. Where it goes from there, I'm sure that nobody can imagine where it's going to go from there.
Right. Chevy Fish says we are lucky here in Illinois. For decades, we have had Lee Watson's reptile show 2 times a month, and it is now Scott Smith's All Animal Expo.
Yeah. Being able to interact with the community, that is big these days. With so much is online, being able to see people in person, so nice.
And Miss Lori just yesterday what was that? I just took it down. The USAR.
USAR.
She just, I'm sorry, Mike's Aquatics and Things is who did that. I'm sorry. Good morning to Cooley for Schooly. It's good to see you. Scuba Steve, what's up? And there's Miss Lori. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anybody. To Cooley for Schooly. Ian, good morning, Ian. Don't think I've gotten everybody. Unplug the metaverse now. And there's Joe Shrimp Shack, one of our major sponsors. Good morning, Joe. Good to see you. He's a lurking.
Hello, Joe.
So what I'm trying to do, especially with the Aquatic Morning Show, and maybe one day I need to change it to the Aquatic and Reptile Morning Show, is interact more. Bring us more together. I have been looking, and I will soon be getting some milk frogs. And I just ran across them on YouTube. I seen a video, and the cutest little freaking things I've seen, and I want them. And so I've been researching them. And the more I looked at these things, paludariums, vivariums, all of these different things, how much it interacts with the water or aquatic and then reptiles in their enclosures. How much all of it's integrated. A lot of the same things are used, products and stuff. So a lot of the aquatic world gets along pretty well. But we want to bring the reptile world in as well. And so we have an
enormous amount of similarities. We are both trying to recreate an environment within a box.
An environment, yeah.
And I'll say the reptile world is finally catching up to the aquarium world. You had no choice. If you don't create an environment in that box, your animal dies very quickly.
Right.
With reptiles, our reptiles will hold on for a while if we have an incorrect box, because like the chameleon world, we just put a ficus tree in the middle of a cage, and the chameleon's sitting on the ficus tree and just waiting to do whatever it's going to do, but it can't do much. And we are getting the joy of seeing this dragon sitting inside of a box, and we don't know that it's slowly dying because it's not being taken care of, but it lasts a lot longer than it would with a fish. But lately, the last couple of years, we've been having so much more of an awareness that we need to create an environment, and the chameleon is just one part of that environment.
Right,
and so
right.
That's been one of my biggest pushes for awareness in the community, that we're creating an environment, and the chameleon is just part of the environment.
But when you go to a pet store, you see that particular creature right there.
Yep.
In the environment that you're making, you may never see it, for months.
Pet stores have a real problem with selling something that can't be seen.
Yeah. And the chameleons, and I don't know what chameleons they are. I don't know what kind they are. But I mean, they're right there when you walk in. That's like the first animal you see on an end cap is in their enclosure, but all they've got is just a few sticks for them to hang on, and that's it. Because like you said, if you can't see them, nobody can buy them.
Yeah.
But I've learned now, and I feel sorry for them. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can I give you a leaf or something? Let me
Yeah.
help.
And also, they don't like to be together. It's
Yeah.
one chameleon per cage. You go into a pet store, they've got a whole
5.
bunch of them sitting there in a cage. Yeah, they're
Right. Now, at what age do they not like being together? Because, like, you know, they're all born and you see them together.
the second they hatch.
Okay. Like,
They
just like that.
first thing they do is they scatter, and they live life alone from that point on.
Wow.
Now, they won't do damage to each other for the first couple of months, and so you can get away with, say, up to about 3 months, depending upon the species, of raising babies together. But that's not ideal husbandry. Ideal husbandry is keeping them all separate from the second they hatch. And
Wow. And how many do they have at one time?
anywhere from 8 to 12 to 30 to 60, and if they're unhealthy, up to 100. See, the problem
Wow.
is with the veiled chameleon. That's the biggest problem, is that veiled chameleons come from a high altitude mountains. And so, but they are so darn hardy that they can accept incorrect husbandry. They can accept hotter conditions. And the thing is, what happens when veiled chameleons get warmer than they should be? Their body supercharges. And so they get bigger, faster. They have larger clutches of eggs. And of course, in our human mind, oh, that's health.
Good. Right.
Yeah.
That's not health. That is very unhealthy. And it's the way that many females die from egg binding is because their bodies create too many eggs.
Yeah.
But you can't tell people that's unhealthy. They think that more eggs means they're better fed and they're healthier. But the thing is, these chameleons that should have clutches of about like 20 eggs, 20 to 30, are now having 60 egg clutches, 100 egg clutches.
Wow.
And that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep their species alive.
Veiled thing about veiled chameleons is they are just they're just tanks, and they're meant to be that way because they have to be hatch, mate, grow up, mate, lay eggs, all within the wet season. Because once the dry season comes, it kills them all.
Oh, wow.
So the entire species is represented in eggs in the ground.
Good.
And so this is, many people don't know this about veiled chameleons, our most common chameleon. They come from Yemen, but that doesn't mean they come from the desert. They come from the high mountains, and there's these valleys in the mountains that when the wet season comes, they just become oases. They just plants all over the place. It's a lush oasis. And that's when the eggs hatch, because now there's a bunch of bugs all over the place. But when the dry season comes, then all the plants disappear, all the bugs disappear, the chameleons die off, and the eggs are in the ground. And so this chameleon,
killifish.
I don't know, but maybe
Killifish happens the
is that
same
how they
way.
do it?
A lot of them, yes, a lot of them.
So
they grow, live, breed, lay the eggs, and the legs dry up. They die. The eggs dry up, and then when it rains again, the eggs are there. And
okay.
How that cycle goes with the killifish.
So that is why the veiled chameleon will eat anything and everything, and has this genetic thing inside their brain saying, grow as fast as you can because you need to reproduce before the dry season comes, because if you don't, this species goes extinct.
Wow. Now, in captivity, how long will they live?
Easily 10 years.
Oh, okay. So
if they're taken care of and if they're kept cool. See, the difference, they come from actually higher elevation than Jackson's chameleons. And we know if you keep Jackson's chameleons too hot, they die. So that's really easy. Veiled chameleons, if you keep them too hot, well, then they won't die. They'll supercharge in an unhealthy way.
Okay.
And so it's just different species.
Okay. Well, Joseph Stanley says, okay, work keeps pulling me away. So maybe this question has been asked, but Jess or Dee Dee, can you ask if there is any kinds of tree limbs, wood that is not good to use in the enclosures?
Okay. The problem we've got here is that whole work thing, and if that's keeping you from learning about reptiles and fish, then something's got to go. It's got to be the work. As far as branches, chameleons are very adaptable. Generally, we stay away from bamboo because it's smooth. We don't like pine because of the sap and such. So we don't necessarily. There aren't a whole lot of branches that we won't use. It's really more of what kind of composition is it. I love oak branches. Those are incredible branches. They're hard and easy for me to find, many people to find. So it's more of we want thin branches, like the big manzanita doesn't really cut it. The chameleons like to be able to get their hands around it, or at most halfway around it.
Okay.
And this is something I see people have too thick of branches in their cages because for whatever reason. But chameleons know that's security for them because they can feel when something's coming after them on a branch. So they want that security. So we get thin branches, but there aren't a whole lot of branches that we won't use in the cage.
Dragon Layer says, we've learned how intelligent reptiles are and how important exercises are for them in the last few years, which has driven the uptick in keeping reptiles like fish keepers have known for years. And this goes back to where we were talking about before. We're kind of going back in questions here that I've highlighted.
Yeah, as far as we're talking about enrichment for reptiles. Yeah. And that's a huge explosion. We're seeing how reptiles are intelligent. They need that enrichment, especially things like monitors and some snakes. They really need that. Chameleons are a little bit different. They do like to be stationary. They are not designed for distance and going anywhere. They are designed for staying in one place. And I have someone who goes off and sees chameleons in the wild, and there is this one chameleon in one place that he finds that chameleon year after year in the same place. They really move only when they need to, and they're designed to stay in one place. So actually, we get concerned when we start seeing a chameleon do laps around the cage. That means it's not happy. When chameleon is crawling on the screen, that means he wants to go somewhere else. The cage isn't sufficient for them. So enrichment for reptiles is a huge thing, and I'm very glad that we're going in that direction. But with chameleons, we need to, with every reptile, every animal, we need to understand their particular personality, what they need as an individual species.
Right. Chevy Fish says the higher altitude chameleons have shorter lifespans at higher temps.
This is correct, because at the higher altitudes, they are used to lower temperatures, and anything that grows up in a certain temperature range, they become dependent upon that temperature range. And so they've developed ways of coping with the very cold nights and the cool days. They have developed ways of dealing with the heat, and so the heat will kill them, whereas the cold will kill other things.
You want to keep the colder chameleons.
Yeah, and a lot of chameleons come from the mountains, and that's one reason for live birth. That live birth developed. It's because you can't. It's not as reliable to bury eggs when it gets really cold. The female chameleon is able to bask and warm the eggs in her body, and so that's one reason for live birth.
Joseph Stanley says that he was using crepe myrtle branches. That's why he was asking about the wood. That's what I was thinking in my mind too, because crepe myrtle branches have such neat growth patterns, and they're easy to get, but they are kind of slick. So
I'm only I'm only a little bit familiar with Crepe Myrtle. I do remember them as being very slick, and
They are,
so I don't know
but they're
how.
small, so or can be,
Yeah, so I
but they don't have sap. Well, you can't put them in aquariums. There's something in them that
yeah
isn't good, but so
yeah
that's the question.
I'll just have to say I don't know about Crepe Myrtle. I haven't used it.
Ian says that makes sense. I don't remember what part we were talking about that makes sense, but kind of how if we keep certain fish to warm, it boosts their metabolism and shortens their lifespan.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Well, see, I have never really paid attention to, I'm a reptile person, but as I'm getting exposed to more and more of these things, I even see patterns on snakes that I think are pretty. And I don't care for snakes, but, you have to appreciate the beauty where it is. But looking at all those enclosures that Jess was putting up a while ago, you can make a very beautiful place in your house for your reptile. It's not just a box with a creature in it.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And it
is
makes you
awesome.
appreciate so much more about the animal in its habitat. I mean,
Yeah.
we have learned, if you want a chameleon or any reptile or any fish, your life becomes enriched when you learn about that animal's environment, and you recreate the environment, and you realize how many of these things are interconnected, and how you really can't have the environment without the plants, and how the animal interacts and depends upon the plants, and the fog that comes in at the night, and all of these things add into this chameleon or animal's life, and how necessary it is. And you can see that the animals, their health decreases if they don't have it. It's because they need it.
Geek Boy says
I just recently, I'm sorry.
Geek Boy says these days I feel like I am designed for staying in one place.
Yes. Let's see. I see Chevy Fish is asking, what misting system do you use? I use Mist Kings and Climist misting systems. Those are
So I
two that are very good.
recently just ran across this misting thing. I never have seen that anywhere before. It's like, never knew. I don't really know any people that keep these either. I just see them in stores.
Well, here's the challenge of keeping arboreal creatures: is how do they get water? And so they don't have cups of water up there. Well, okay, some do if you got bromeliads, but generally a chameleon spending its life in the trees, it's not going to have access to standing water. And so what we're learning is they stay hydrated by during the night. Banks of fog move in, and so they're breathing in that moist air, so they don't lose their moisture from breathing. And then in the morning, they lick whatever dew is off the leaves, and they get moisture from their food. And this is how they survive during the dry season. Obviously, during the wet season, there's more water than anybody can shake a stick at.
Right.
But you notice that they hide when it's raining. They don't go out and no, they hide because they don't like to be sprayed. They don't like to be rained on. It's just like us. we run for protection.
Right.
Well, that's like some of the food diets that some people choose to follow. If you do a lot of raw vegetables and stuff, you are not thirsty like you are if you eat a lot of salt infused and dead foods.
This is something that's very important to understand, is how they get hydrated, because we've for so long in the chameleon community, we've thought misting is the only way. And so we blast our chameleons during the day when, number one, they hate to be misted. And number two, they aren't used to having to drink during the day, which is just what you mentioned before about not seeing a chameleon drink.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you put a dripper, and so there's water, and your chameleon runs to the dripper during the day, he's dehydrated. Your ideal situation is that you have a dripper, you have water available, and they ignore it. That's how you know that your hydration is working. And the thing is, with the naturalistic hydration methods, where a lot of the hydration takes place at night or in the morning, we humans don't see it. So we have to trust that it's happening, or more
Look for the
likely,
sign.
we do
Learn
these
from the
tests,
signs.
like dripper during the day. Does he go for the dripper? No. Okay, good. Look at the poop. Is it moist? Okay, good.
Right.
So we know that we have to trust in our measurements.
Ian says that he was talking to Chewy, which, hi, Chewy, good to see you. Long time no see, man. It's good to have a cool down period with our Central American cichlids, especially if wild caught. They need to be able to rest in the cold months to get ready for the breeding season.
Yes, and we have chameleons that are like that as well. And,
So now, where can one go to go get research on a creature that they might want to buy before they go? That way they know how to set up the right environment, all this misting, and what kind of food.
If you are interested in chameleons, you can go to chameleonacademy.com, where I have poured years and years of scouring the globe for all the experts out there. I'm in my 7th season of the Chameleon Academy podcast, so I've really brought in vets, scientists, breeders, keepers, and gathered all that information. So for chameleons, go to chameleonacademy.com and you'll find the latest. And as for other animals, other reptiles, it's a real challenge because doing research is not straightforward. There is no barrier to someone saying, I know what I'm talking about, therefore I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start a Facebook group. I'm going to start some sort of outreach and present myself confidently. And if you're just looking for somebody who thinks they know what they're talking about, you're going to find a lot of those. It's much more difficult finding someone who knows what they're talking about. And so to do that, find someone who's actually breeding. That is the best place to start, is somebody who is consistently breeding this animal, because you have a better chance of getting somebody who knows what they're talking about. At the very least, they're keeping their animals alive and being able to raise them up. And so,
Sharpie says, don't some take up water via capillary action through their feet and skin?
No, not chameleons. That I know some frogs do that, but chameleons do not do that. And this is the one thing: you never want to soak your chameleon. Unfortunately, a lot of vets don't know the difference between reptiles, and so they'll say, "Oh, you soak your bearded dragon, fine. Okay, soak a chameleon," and for the same reason, you stress your poor chameleon out. So yeah, we don't soak our chameleons. That's not a way to hydrate them.
There are several different chameleons from Madagascar. Does your guest know about the Panther Chameleon?
I do know about the Panther Chameleon. I have bred the Panther Chameleon extensively. Panther Chameleon is the best chameleon to start off with as a beginner, because the Panther Chameleon is the most widely bred in the community. And so you're going to be able to find a breeder that is willing to work with you and handhold you through the beginning steps. Panther Chameleon is a wonderful species of chameleon.
Eduardo says, Mr. Bill, thank you for sharing the important information that you provided. It has educated us with the chameleon world. What top 3 advice do you offer with the upkeep?
Top 3 advice. 1, don't cut corners. Don't price shop. You don't have to just throw money at it. But when you're doing the initial setup, do it right the first time. Don't save money on your initial setup, because once you get it set up properly, chameleon keeping is easy. If you don't set it up properly, there's no way you're going to succeed, and it will eventually end poorly. So let's say that's one. I got two more. 2, go captive bred. When you're starting off, it's true with any animal. You get one that was bred in captivity. I mean, this chameleon has been raised to being served by human beings. It may be annoyed by human beings, but it has no concept that it has to be scared of human beings. And so there's that. And 3, let's see. 3 is to do your deep research before you get the animal. And I know that just sounds so cliche. You ask
Yeah,
any animal
it's so
person that,
important.
but boy, it's once you get this thing set up before you get the animal, you understand what it takes before you get the animal. Then you know what you're in for, and you don't have to learn so much on the job.
Right.
Right.
So,
I said, what is your recommendations for the type of food to feed them from birth to adulthood, and how often?
chameleons are insectivores, and so you're going to want a variety of insects to feed them. Veiled chameleons will eat leafy greens, fruits. Veiled chameleons generally eat whatever is available. That doesn't mean it's good for them. So insect foods, when you're starting off, we're talking about fruit flies, bean beetles, and pinhead crickets. As they get older, your food just starts to get bigger, and you start adding in roaches and such, and flies, and really, it's anything that moves and will fit in their mouth. And we like to do as much variety as possible. And as for frequency, when they're young, I feed them as much as they will eat until they get to an adulthood, because their job is to grow. So give them as much as they will eat. But once they reach adulthood, they stop growing longer and they start growing wider. And that's when it starts to get unhealthy. And because chameleons really don't move much, they don't burn a lot of calories. And so I do, for an adult chameleon, a standard Panther, Veiled, Jackson's, 3 food items every other day. And that's it. And that's important because we love to see chameleons eat, and they will eat more than they need. But obesity is a big problem with chameleons. Like I said, they don't move much when they're happy, and so they don't burn calories. And obesity, they get the fat pads, and they get all the problems that we do when we have that kind of problem. So you don't feed as much as you think they want.
So now I've had life wrong all my life. I always thought my spirit animal was a tiger or something like that. Now I'm finding out it's a chameleon. Have I messed up in life?
Yeah. Let's see. We have what's the biggest, and also what's the most endangered species of chameleon? Biggest chameleon is, well, there's some debate of how to measure that, but generally speaking, we say it's the Parsons chameleon. It's about the size of a small cat. When it's perching on your arm, yeah, you know it, because they've got those claws to dig in. They've got to hold on to branches when there's windstorms, and so yeah, when they latch on, you know it. They're not trying to hurt you, but boy, using a salt scrub after handling Parsons chameleons. Yeah, you know where you've been punctured.
Yeah, grind that right in.
And let's see, there was another. What's the most endangered species? Hard to tell, because there's so many species that we know so little about, and we're finding some species that are in just very small areas that all of a sudden become the most endangered species because all it takes is one shopping mall to go up and they're gone. So. Yeah, I think chameleons are just like every other animal, to where the more we learn about them, the more we learn how these populations are so diverse and different from each other that we could very easily lose an entire species if we're not careful. And we have a history of not being careful.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Miss Dee Dee, I am getting together we have a contest that we've got to do real quick, but it's going to take me a minute to get the names put in here. So if you'll kind of take over for me while I get this thrown in here.
Okay.
This side where I can get to these comments. This side. Let's see what this one says. what is the biggest and also what is the most endangered species? We got that one though,
Yeah,
right?
we just answered that one.
Okay. Too close to my computer today. This side of the chat. I'm usually in the pop-out chat from YouTube.
Is this?
Dragon Lair. Well, if I click on it, then I can't read it. I'm on a couple of Facebook tortoises Facebook groups, and they're all recommending soaking baby tortoises, which is stressful for them. They should be kept in a deep substrate that is kept moist with a water.
Yeah, I don't know anything about tortoises.
Oh,
but
you know, you see it on Facebook where you get all this wrong information.
Yeah, and the problem is the vets don't always have, rarely have right information, because where are the vets going to learn about reptiles? They get one class in their vet school, and they have to take it on themselves to learn about all of these different species of reptiles. And the money is in the cats and the dogs and the birds, and so why are they spending all of their time learning about this incredibly diverse reptiles and amphibians? And so they do the best with what they can, but unless you have a vet who is passionate about reptiles, you're probably going to get someone who's just read some articles and does a very quick search on the computer when they're trying to figure out what to do with this critter that's been brought in. So I don't envy the vets, and boy, I wish being a reptile vet would pay more. But that's encouraging. As our community grows, it's going to be more and more lucrative for people to be reptile vets, and so our services are going to grow as our community grows, which is one thing that's very exciting to me with the Reptile Entrepreneur, is growing a strong community.
Now, do you raise your own food, or do you buy it?
I do a combination of both.
What do you raise?
I raise 4 different species of roaches. So that's what I work on: roaches and superworms. I don't raise crickets; those I purchase, and I purchase black soldier flies.
Wow, I've never heard of some. I have heard of those Dubai roaches.
Yeah, the dubia roaches.
Those.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
that's the only ones I've ever heard of.
Dubia, Madagascar hissers. Yeah.
And now, is that something that you feed, or are they actually considered a pet?
They're not supposed to be a pet, but I don't feed them enough. If you took the amount that I feed versus the amount that I care, yeah, they're pets. I should be feeding more of them. But especially the green banana roaches, I love them so much. They're so cool. But
I've never heard of such a thing, the green banana roach.
Yes, they're very beautiful, but they climb glass and they fly. So, but they're so cute when they fly. They're like little fairies. They flutter.
Oh, cool. That would make me. That'd be
Yeah. My wife was.
We say roach around here. We want to stomp on something,
right?
That's what we connect with roaches. Most of us.
Yeah, we're like the German American cockroach, the greasy things. No, these are much different. They live at the forest bottom, and they're dry. They're clean.
I guess I have to do some research on that too.
Roaches are a whole new world.
I can see these enclosures being almost like a work of art.
Oh yeah.
Some of those were so pretty a while ago. It's like, even if you don't have a creature in there, they would just be pretty just to have. You know?
I've had mini cages set up that don't have chameleons in them, and when a chameleon, I have a baby chameleon, I'll put a chameleon in there. But these enclosures, once you start building an environment, the enclosure itself is a beautiful work of art.
But like when I started fish, we started off with the brightly colored gravel and the plastic little things, and we stick it in there, and then we learn to do a more natural thing, and if that's what we like, we shift over that way. Then we learn there's real plants out there we can put in there, and they'll grow, and sometimes they don't. But now you have live plants, and you have a natural bottom that kind of looks like you're sticking your hand in some water outside. But I
Well,
could see me now going through the whole process with the fish, actually just having an aquarium with plants
yeah, and
just to look at.
what you're describing there is the microcosm of our maturity as keepers. We start off wanting the bright, shiny candy.
Mhm.
Oh, look at that bright, bright. But
Oh
then
yeah, and I'm easily entertained and all that.
but once we start learning about the environment, we understand the interaction between everything within that environment, and we start seeing the beauty in that interaction instead of just, oh, okay, it's brightly colored. So,
Yeah, I used to see the pink rocks and say, oh, I want one of that. And now when I see somebody's aquarium, with the piece of a broken log or something like that, and the moss growing on this side, it's like, that is beautiful. And 15 years ago, I would have thought, who wants a muddy looking aquarium? Now that's what you strive for when you go into that direction. It's not for everybody, and there's a place for everybody, and that's why there's all these different colors and stuff to choose from. But it's fascinating. Everybody picks on me because they know I'm not into snakes, but the lizards are the ones that have always caught my interest. I feed the little, common lizard, whatever they are. Like if we have a cookout, I know they like to get near the corn cob because it will draw the flies. So we sit it where they can get to it and catch the flies off of it. Just stuff like that. But,
yeah, chameleons have been a very good gateway reptile to the reptile world because and the thing about chameleons is you can communicate with them. Their color changing is with their mood. And so you literally know what's on their mind. And so we are able to interact with them. We can communicate at a very basic level, but it's a lot easier to get that communication going than it would be some of the other reptiles. So chameleons are a good entry to the reptile world for many people.
I'm finding this fascinating, and I know some of my friends out here are like, oh, we knew we'd get her eventually, but I can see me actually doing a chameleon. I like those milk frogs too, and I never thought I would ever like a frog.
Right? Exactly.
Dart frogs are another one.
Like lizards, but I've never cared for frogs, and then when you see these little milk frogs, that's just the cutest little thing.
Yes, they are.
But going back to the animal shutting down, I would have been of the thought process, oh, it trusts me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll hold it just a little bit tighter, and carry it everywhere I go because it trusts me. I would have thought the same exact thing.
And that is natural because we're human beings and that's our world.
Yeah, because if something goes to sleep in your arms, and they must trust you.
Yeah. And that's the trap that we fall into. So it's a huge learning experience, and by being involved with animals like this, chameleons and fish, we're learning to look at the world through different eyes, and we're developing a skill of empathy for something completely different. And I think those skills of being able to put our experiences aside and consider a totally different viewpoint can have some use with dealing with other human beings that come from different backgrounds. So
that's true.
And
we do have a tendency to give our animals humanistic feelings. And in a way, I think maybe it has changed a lot, because when I was a kid, everybody's dogs were outside. And of course, I grew up in the country, and everybody's dogs were unkept. They could roam the neighborhood. And I actually had some people that were close by me that their dog went from house to house to house to house to eat the scraps somebody threw out in the backyard. It's like, oh yeah, he can go find enough to eat. We don't have to feed him. He gets enough by going, eat a biscuit here and a pork chop bone there. And now our animals, we take pictures. We probably have more pictures of our animals on our phones than we do ourselves. And so animals are a big, big part of people's lives, where before they were outside and we name our cows, whatever,
Mhm.
and it just brings everything is so much more important as far as an animal. We don't just sling some food in there and don't think about it. We actually put our emotions into these animals.
Yeah, yeah. And we can, when we start putting our concentrating on these animals, not as what these animals can do for us and how are they entertaining us right now, but how can we learn about the world by keeping this animal? And it opens us up to great personal growth. And just like for the chameleon example, if you are invested in the chameleon, you're going to be learning about Madagascar. You're going to be learning about the geopolitics of what's going on, the environment. You're going to be learning about parasitology. You're going to be learning about etymology, insects, keeping insects. And there's so many things that one right after another, you become aware of what's going on around in the world because everything's connected. And I just had absolutely no interest in human medicine or understanding anything about the human body. It's like, okay, whatever. But with a chameleon, I want to know about the vitamin interactions. I want to know about how to keep this healthy. And it's through my love for the chameleons that I learned about UVB and vitamin D3 and the interactions between vitamin A and vitamin D3 and all this, which I realized I was tricked into learning about human nutrition.
Right. And it does play on the other, those kinds of things. Like just like us, we need light.
Yes.
And if we don't, then we start shutting down emotionally. And if we don't get to it,
you start learning about what was going on in Siberia, where the school children would spend time sitting around a UVB light so they would not get rickets. And now you know why, because like metabolic bone disease is one of the biggest problems in the chameleon world, because the chameleons don't get enough UVB, so they get brittle and rubbery bones, and they die. And so this becomes things we learn about how life works.
Now, how many enclosures do you have in your personal home?
I would not be able to.
More than 50?
Likely. I have. The thing is, you talk about me personally, and I can bring my wife into this. Are we starting? Should I start another story here, or do you
let's
have
hang on just a second, and
Okay.
let's get this. We have the end of week contest, which is where we give a short video or a short video or a short every day, 3 days of the week, and you have a chance to enter for the end of week contest, which is for an Aquatic Morning Show keychain, and it also enters you into the end of month giveaway, which is an Aquatic Morning Show t-shirt, coffee cup, and this month we have an edition from Stephen P. 2003 has added a $100 gift card to Dan's Fish. So I believe Monday is when we will run the end of month contest, which is to take the last 5 winners from this month, and those are the ones that get to enter for the end of month. So you guys that have entered this week, I have got you in the amount of numbers that you entered, which you go in there and you say, I love watching the Aquatic Morning Show. And if you did that, you're in here. So get ready, set, good luck.
Oh, wow. Is this hooked up to their exercise bike?
I know, right? We should be able to get the energy off of it.
Look at Skipper coming up. Oh, mine came in early.
Aquatics, you win keychain. And you get an entry into the end of month, which will be Monday. So make sure you're here.
Scotty beat me by a fin.
A fin. I know. Dadgummit. Well, congratulations, Scotty. And be sure to email me at theaquaticmorningshow@gmail.com. That way it reminds me, because I will forget. Although, you guys, I got everything mailed out yesterday except for 2, which is COC, because it's just going to cost a lot of money to send it over there. And Greg, I still have your stuff. So, and then now I will start doing it again. But I got everybody's stuff mailed out and everybody's shirts and cups and everything. So it should be within the next 2 weeks, everybody getting everything in the mail. If you didn't and you were supposed to have received something, email me. You guys know me. So, all right.
And just so you know, there, Mr. Bill, Stephen P., that is our month-end sponsor this month in, he's also the same guy that wrote that song, Florida Fishman Rescue. Because we have a rescue family that had to move out of their home, so they did a fundraiser for him, and he wrote that song specifically for that 24-hour fundraising marathon.
All right.
And
very talented young man.
Yes, he says several songs that we play here on the morning show, and I will play one at the end of the show as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to have to do a part 2, Mr. Bill, because we are running out of time.
Okay.
Let's see. I need to run over I'm just going to go real quick over the events coming up, you guys, and then Miss Dee Dee will run over the other things coming up today, the other live streams coming up today, Saturday and Sunday, because we're on the weekend, TGIF. Let me get it pulled up because I didn't have it pulled up. So I was doing the other one. If you have yours pulled up already, Miss Dee Dee, you can do it.
Okay, I can go ahead on mine.
Okay.
At 12 today, following the morning aquatic show, we have John of My Fish Tanks Aquatics, where you can show off your aquariums. At 2 p.m., we have the afternoon chat with Rick Stan. That is if he's feeling well enough. At 4:30 today, we have the Lefty and Ed Variety Show. At 6, we have Cold Water Aquatics. At 6:30, we have Stay Fishing Fridays. At 7:30, we have Aqua Malik. And at 8, we have the Friday Night Fish Fam Hangout. At 8:30 to 9:30, we have Father Fish. And at 9:30 to 10:30, we have Friday Night Live with LRB Aquatics. And at 10:30, 11:30, we have the Secret History Living in Your Aquarium with Alex. 11:30 to 12, we have Atkins Nature Aquariums and Big Tank in the Den with Big Tank Hank. Let me go to another day. And tomorrow morning, we have the Saturday morning cartoons with Shanna and Jason. 10 o'clock. And at 12, we have Afternoon Delight with Jimmy P. And we also have Ben Ochard at the same time. And at 1 o'clock, we have Peter with Mild Guppy. At 2, we have Steamy McStringy with Stephen P. and Jenna P. At 4, we have Families and Fish Caping with Lady Metalhead. At 6, we have, I think that is now changed, Saturday Hangout with Mike's Aquatics, but I believe he has moved to 9:30 on Saturday nights. At 7, we have Discus Talk. At 8, we have Fish Room Fever and or Chattanooga Ed, and I believe it's going to be salty this week. And at 9:30, 10:30, we have Vinny's Aquatics. At 10 o'clock, we have Aqua Funk. And at 11, we have Punchy Paints. And at 11:30 to 12, I cannot see it. Oh, we have Glitch Aquatics with Glitch and Robert. And then for Sunday, we start off at 8 o'clock, and I believe that's changed to 9. We have Easy with Degenerate Fish Keeper. At 12, at 11, we have Mike's Turn to Aquatics. At 12, we have Guppy Guru with Peter. And at 12, we also have Swimming Against the Stream. I believe he has moved up his time too with Chris Lawson, Multi-Tank Addiction. At 1, we have Sharpie's Fish and Phantoms. At 3, we have Sunday Stream with Brienne's Fish Fam. At 4, we have Aquaman Lake. At 5, we have Science Galaxy Aquatics with Carrie and Jesse. At 5:30, we have Father Fish. And at 6, we have Skipper's Aquariums. At 7, we have Q Aquatics, which I'm surprised she was not here today. And at 8, we have Tennessee Fish Mafia with Cater Aquatics. And at 9, we have Sunday night stream with Daniken Aquatics. And at 10, we have Sunday night spotlight with Kevin's Canines and Aquatics. And at 11:30, we have Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics. That's what I see.
Mr. Bill, is there a certain time that you go on your live stream? Like, do you have a set time that you put them out every week?
For a live stream, I'm still working out what I'm going to do with that. I am for a podcast. I'm weekly for the Chameleon Academy, and that's on Friday. And the Reptile Entrepreneur comes out on Monday. But I'm trying something new where on my YouTube channel, my Chameleon Academy YouTube channel, I am releasing a video every weekday. It's a personal goal of mine to do this. So that's the project I'm working on right now.
Right. Okay. Well, if you ever get a set time that you know that you're live streaming or that you're going to live stream, let us know and we'll put you in the loop.
Okay.
I know a lot of us would love to be there.
Okay.
All right, you guys, we got the Expo, the Hilton Garden Inn at the DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, Plants, Fish, Coral Supplies. Aquashella Orlando, February 26th and 27th. Tropical Fish Meet in Northbrook, Illinois, Sunday, April 24th. Tropical Fish Swap of Michigan, March 6th. Tropical Fish Swap Meet in Northbrook, Illinois is March 6th. The GCCA meeting on Sunday, March 13th. Dave Schumacher, Chromis, and Periochromis. The Fishwater Swap at That Fish Place on Saturday, March 26th. The Aquatic Expo, April 2nd and 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia. The Reefapalooza is all in Orlando, April 23rd and 24th. Aquatic Con is, Knoxville, Tennessee, April 30th. Reefapalooza again, June 25th through the 26th. The Triple Crown, July 27th through the 31st. The Aquashella Dallas is August 6th and 7th. Reefapalooza, August 13th and 14th, and that one is in Anaheim, California. Magna, September 9th and through the 7th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Another Northbrook, Illinois Tropical Swap Meet is September 18th. The Bigger Than Ever Keystone Clash is September 26th through the 25th. Mark the date. The AGA is September 29th through October 2nd in Chicago, Illinois. The All Aquarium Catfish Convention is October 7th and through the 9th in Herndon, Virginia. Chicago Aquashella, October 8th and 9th. Reefapalooza is also in Dallas, and it's 8th and 9th, and also Fishtoberfest is October 8th and 9th in Portland, Oregon. Northbrook, Illinois, Tropical Fish Swap, Sunday, October 30th. Another one on December 4th. And that's it. Those are the events. Becomes a mouthful.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Well, I hope Skipper doesn't fire me because I forgot to wear the Skipper cap when I did the rundown on the calendar.
Oh, I believe you'll be all right.
He's going to chew me up later. That's his job, but when he's not here, I fill in for him.
That's
But
right.
I'm supposed to wear my Skipper cap when I do that.
Well, we will have to do this again, Mr. Bill. I hope you can come and join us for a round 2
Yes.
because this has been amazing. And I know there were more questions that we didn't get to. But if you don't mind coming back another day, we'll get to those another time.
Sure, anytime.
Good deal. Well, Mr. Bill, thank you very much. And Miss Edie, of course,
Very
thank
welcome.
you every time you're here helping me. And if there anything else, Miss Edie or Mr. Bill, you would like to say before we head on out?
Had a great time.
Good deal.
I did too. I learned a lot, which I was expecting to because I was at ground zero pretty much. It was awesome having you here. A lot of fun.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very good meeting all of you.
Yes. hopefully we can keep integrating the aquarium and the fish community.
A lot in common between the two.
Yes, and I think it needs to be more. Continue integrating more and more people, and just, I mean,
we keep doing this. I may get those seahorses. Oh,
that's
boy.
right. We're gonna do it. That's gonna be my goal. That's gonna be my goal. You're going to get them soon.
But just so you know, I'm having a snake that's going to be sharing my name. Mike has ordered a new snake, and he's going to call it Dee Dee.
Oh, wonderful.
How I feel about snakes.
Oh, my goodness.
Hi, Dr. Anthony. He's just popped in too.
Hey, Dr. Anthony. And
I have not been watching chat.
And Stephen P. just popped in as well. And Mech Channel UV Vlogs also. I will drive by and see you as soon as I can one day. So, you guys, thank you, Mr. Bill. Thank you, Miss Dee Dee. And we're going to go out listening to Stephen P. 2003 Mosh Pit. Bye.
Bye. Thank y'all.
Takes me a few minutes to get all the buttons pushed.
We're pushing buttons. Get ready to push mine.
Right?
Yep.
Right. Everybody have a great weekend, and we love you.
It's a live ever mosh pit. So watch it, don't knock it, drop and fry every day, ain't gonna stop it. People saying hey and whoa and take it slow, it's out of control, but they don't know I got a mother-loving biome. Nature! So leave it alone, they're doing fine in a happy home. Making babies with their fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers is kind of gross, but you know that's the way it goes. Now I'm in the midst of a colony blitz. It all started with the batch of fry. The mama died, but the baby survived and grew up and thrived. Then the guppies kicked the breeding into overdrive. What was accidental and incremental blew up into an exponential and totally mental experimental hit. And the fish police threw a fit. I guess they just couldn't handle my live bearer mosh pit. Best not front on me about this company, 'cause you can't spell guppy without that one and only G. You might think from this rhyme that I'm mucking up guppy lines. Ain't got no crooked spine or time to hear you whine. Stop the fish police. I'm making hybrids I desire to acquire and combine entire lines designed to inspire and surprise and advertise the rise of my monkey fighting live bearer empire. You're looking all distraught, you think it's overstocked, but you got no shot to sway me, you're an afterthought. Yeah, I got guppies getting blitzed on duckweed. Had enough of these, well they don't stop and neither do we. You might call it a challenge, it's a foot per gallon. Your rationale is sound, but it's a little unfounded, 'cause I'm gonna be crowned as the best flippin' mud guppy breeder around. On this earth, then my mutts, I assert, are gonna make you a convert to a chaotic tank that doesn't take much effort or the hand of an expert. Look, all I did was rap and 5 guppies just gave birth. Best not front on me about this company, 'cause you can't spell guppy without that one and only G. You might think from this rhyme that I'm mucking up guppy lines. Ain't got no crooked spines or time to hear you whine. 'Cause you best not front on me about this company, 'cause you can't spell guppy without that one and only G. If you wanna do like I do, fertilize the plants with fish food. Don't fret about being overrun, just chill and have some fun. I got the new genetics for the color theoretics, a different aesthetic. It's cosmetic and frenetic. If you don't get it, I do. I got a vision, it's eidetic. In your derision, well, it's really quite pathetic. Uh-oh. Now you see a bunch of fatties, they're looking fatty. You think it's fatty, and the plants are overgrown, getting kinda ratty. It's alright, little laddie. Just look me in the eye and tell me who's your daddy. Best not front on me about this company, 'cause you can't spell guppy without that one and only G. You might think from this rhyme that I'm mucking up guppy lines. Ain't got no crooked spines or time to hear you whine, 'cause you best not front on me about this company, 'cause you can't spell guppy without that one and only G. If you wanna do like I do, fertilize the plant with fish poo. Don't fret about being overrun, just chill and have some fun. Yeah. You think I give a fudge about some algae? What, you afraid of shiznit getting too natural up in this biznatch? Good sir, dispose of your TDS meter, for it measures organic and inorganic solids, and it's more beneficial to learn the chemistry of your water. Thank you very much. If you want to do like I do, fertilizing plants with fish poo, don't fret about being overrun, just chill and have some fun.